Hi, I'm Edward Gant Pyle. My friends called me Ed. Let me tell you the story of my life. I am the oldest son of William Pyle of Maryland and Lucretia Keyes of Virginia. They had 10 children. I had 5 brothers and 4 sisters. 10 years before my birth, my dad was a Revolutionary War patriot. He joined the Virginia Riflemen and reported to George Washington in July 1775 in Boston town. The Americans were victorious and the British evacuated Boston in March 1776. My dad is listed as the ensign in the Shepherdstown Lieutenant Leadership. I'm proud of my dad's fight for liberty. I was born on September 22, 1785 near Shepherdstown and Harper's Ferry in Jefferson County, Virginia, which today is West Virginia. It runs along the Potomac River. When I was 2, the Constitution was written and signed. We stayed in Virginia until about 1797 when I was 12 years old when my dad wanted to head west. Kentucky just became a state in 1792 and the land was relatively inexpensive and provided new opportunities. The Wilderness Road was a route used by early settlers to reach Kentucky from the east through the Cumberland Gap. In 1796, an improved all-weather road was opened for wagon travel. Our family moved to the frontier of Breckinridge County, Kentucky. The journey was about 650 miles. Life was rugged and self-sufficient in Kentucky. The settlers had to clear the land, build their own houses, and provide for their own needs. It was true frontier country. My dad eventually obtained over 250 acres of land which we farmed wheat and corn. He had slaves to help on the farm. At 21, it was time for me to settle down. On January 3, 1807 I married Rosanna McMahon in Washington County, Kentucky. She was 17 years old and the love of my life. We were strong Episcopalians. My vocation was a farmer and surveyor. We had 12 children over the next 24 years. Sarah, Thomas, Lucretia, Rosanna, Elizabeth, Martha, William, Nancy, Edward Jr., John, Mary, and Henry. We were sturdy pioneers who helped transform Kentucky from a wilderness to a civilized state. Here is the U.S. Census of 1810 for Breckinridge County, Kentucky. Notice I am listed next to my father William. In 1812 the U.S. declared war on Great Britain. I enlisted at Hardenburg, Kentucky in Sept. 1812 under Captain John Allen. Allen raised the 1st Regiment of Riflemen for Kentucky. He was killed at the Battle of Frenchtown in southeast Michigan. After the war, my family moved across the Ohio River and north to Crawford County, Indiana for about 5 years. Then we settled about 60 miles north in Monroe County, Indiana on the banks of the Salt Creek. We stayed there for about 10 years then moved to Vermilion, Illinois. My oldest daughter Sarah Cox joined the Mormon Church and she later wanted me to join too, but I was not interested. We lost contact with her about 1830 when we moved to Illinois. On February 21, 1835 in Illinois, we bought 80 acres for $100. We later moved to Missouri, but we were determined to migrate to California where the fertile land and favorable climate offered excellent prospects for agriculture. It was our manifest destiny. We left St. Joseph, Missouri on May 26, 1846. Our party consisted of Rosanna and I with 3 sons and 3 daughters and 2 sons-in-law. Also the Whiteman and Laird families were in our party. Our party consisted of 25 people and 6 wagons. We crossed the Missouri River to start our journey west. I had a unique way of packing provisions. On the floor of one of the wagons I packed a layer of bacon, and then placed a solid row of boards on top, and after that I added another layer of bacon, and then more boards. We had plenty of bacon and flour. We stopped in Maryville, Kansas where more families were preparing for the journey. We met the Donners, the Reeds, the Youngs, and the Harlans. In fact, Margaret Reed from the Donner party is my first cousin. We journeyed along the Oregon Trail off to the Platte River and took a week off there. Then off to Fort Laramie and then the Green River. At the Little Sandy Crossing, we met the notorious L.W. Hastings, who knew of a shortcut through Utah which would save us 300 miles, which we did, but later regretted. We might have joined with the Jacob Harlan party to take this shortcut, which proved to be very arduous. We eventually crossed the Sierra Nevada mountains and were the last successful company to enter California that year. We followed the overland trail. On October 26, 1846, our party arrived at Sacramento and located at Sutter's Fort, 1.5 miles from the old town, where we remained over the winter. Here is a tribute with my name on it to celebrate the overland pioneers. The Donner Party was 3 to 14 days behind us, and they ended up getting trapped in the early snowy winter of the Sierra Nevadas, and many of them died, but we didn't hear of this until February. We heard of the rescue party for the Donner, so we helped in February 1847. I helped transport supplies to meet the first relief on their return. My son Edward went on the relief mission to rescue the Donners, and he eventually married Mary Graves, whom he rescued. We both earned money from the relief efforts. I earned $42 and my son $27. My wife Rosanna always cut my hair. In April of 1847 she cut my hair, then tragically died 3 days later at the age of 57. In her honor, I never cut my hair again. Here is a picture in my old age with my lengthy hair. After her death I moved in with my eldest son Thomas. Gold was discovered January 24, 1848 at Sutter's Fort, where I was living. As news of the gold spread, settlers flocked to the new U.S. territory of California. The population exploded with all these 49ers. In 1848, my son Edward Jr. was murdered by a Mexican named Valencia. They had an argument over Ed's injured horse, then Valencia dragged my boy from his horse and later killed him. I was sad to say goodbye to my son, the same son who helped rescue the Donner Party. I purchased some lots of land when San Jose was plotted. It was about 1.5 miles east. I had spent a short time at the mines, but I preferred the life of a rancher, as a surer way to wealth. In 1853, my son Thomas was killed on the Coyote River at his farm. I witnessed the event. Wilson Whitlock was a boarder at his house. They fought. Thomas shot first, wounding Wilson, then Wilson returned fire and killed my son instantly. The fight continued. I was then stabbed with a pocket knife by a different assailant, but then I discharged his pistol, injuring him. The pain of losing my son would always linger. In 1860, I was living with my daughter Mary Pyle Gordon. Here is the U.S. Census in Gilroy, California. I am listed at 74 years old and as a farmer. I was getting older. I planted fruit trees and became a prosperous horticulturalist. The booming agricultural industry contributed to the economic prosperity of the area. I saw a lot of history in my life. I saw the Pony Express and later the railroad reach California. I read of the Civil War back east. I saw the rise of California. I died on October 16, 1875 in San Jose, California. I was 90 years old. My cause of death was old age. I was widowed for 28 years. I was buried in Oak Hill Cemetery in San Jose. My tombstone shows 89 years old and my death registry shows 90. My tombstone is wrong. Come give me a visit. I am Edward Pyle. I witnessed the western expansion of the U.S. I helped settle the frontier of Kentucky, was a veteran of the War of 1812, was a pioneer of the Overland Trail to California, participated in the Gold Rush, and was a father of 12. Thank you for listening to my story.